Welcome to 7:30. Troubled teenagers, drugs and alcohol are a toxic mix. If you add aggressive policing, it can end very badly. Tonight, a grieving mother is asking for answers about what happened to her daughter.
I was appalled. I couldn't believe it. Seeing how he handled my daughter, we're supposed to trust the police, and when you see something like that, who can you trust?
And will Australians have to pay to watch their favourite sports on TV?
Subscription TV is the natural home for people that want to focus very heavily on sports that they're absolutely devoted to.
We're talking about forcing Australians to pay for something that they currently get for free.
A lot of parents have to deal with teenagers who go off the rails. If you're lucky, it doesn't last too long and your kid comes out of it okay. If you're unlucky, it spirals out of control and the consequences can be devastating. That's the case for the family of Sydney girl Melissa Dunn. She was a troubled 17-year-old with a drug problem and a track record of petty crime. In 2012, she was violently arrested. The CCTV footage shows that police used unacceptable force, and it raises questions about how officers are trained to deal with teenagers. As Hayden Cooper reports, Melissa Dunn's story has a tragic ending.
George Street, Sydney, in the early hours of the morning, January 4, 2012. A group of teenagers is loitering on the footpath. They've been out celebrating a birthday, but their night is about to end in a violent struggle with police that will leave one of the girls unconscious.
She was a 16-year-old girl out in the city on a summer's night in January. The magistrate described the girls that she was with as being a nuisance, and I really think that's as high as it ever got.
I was appalled. I couldn't believe it. Seeing how he handled my daughter, we're supposed to trust the police, and when you see something like that, who can you trust?
This is the spirited face of Melissa Dunn, 17 years old, full of life and a friend to many.
She was a good person. She cared about a lot of people, good heart. She was always there for you. She was someone you could talk to when you needed someone.
She was fun, she was happy, she was very stubborn. Yeah. She was always read down for a good time.
But this young Aboriginal girl was often in strife. Her now empty bedroom reveals a troubled existence. She'd been kicked out of school in Year 11, her parents had split, and the girl's constant drug and alcohol abuse with her friends tormented her single mother.
They like to party, drink, smoke marijuana. She did try the ice. She didn't like it. I knew that she smoked dope. I didn't believe it at first. I was in denial. But then I saw her, and that was it. I said, don't do it here. Don't do it in front of me. I don't like it.
By the time she was 16, her problems had worsened.
She was a cutter. She cut her arms a few times. And then every weekend after weekend, be up at the hospital bringing her home. We went to counselling together. That didn't help.
In the group she mixed with, this was nothing unusual.
No, she was just like a normal person. Sometimes you have your sad days. She'd come and talk sometimes just like any other person would. But she was just happy. She was always happy, always laughing, always, yeah.
Parties, go to a cousin's house, just wherever we were at the time, whatever was happening. We'd drink and smoke bongs, yeah.
That's how events began on January 4, 2012. A group of teenagers at Maroubra Beach in Sydney's east. It was Nolene Kane's 16th birthday.
First we had a barbecue and had a couple of drinks. I think we just got a bit intoxicated and wanted to go out of the area. Like, it's a birthday, you know, you're 16, you're like drunk.
They ended up here, outside McDonald's on George Street in the middle of Sydney's CBD. By now, it's 2 a.m. Captain CCTV, some in the group are still drinking. Nolene, birthday girl in white, arrives and sits down inside. She keeps to herself. Melissa Dunn in black is outside. Briefly, she harasses passing pedestrians, but otherwise remains with her friends. Soon, the police arrive. Constable Hugh Michelson recognises Nolene and calls her over. She ignores him, but then turns back. Melissa joins her. The policeman issues Nolene with a move on direction. She complies, but again he calls her back because she's swearing at him. He decides to arrest her.
I only realised that they were there until I was on the ground arrested.
What did you say to the police officer?
Well, there was not much to say when I had a couple of people on top of me.
And before that, though?
Oh, yeah, I didn't know they were there.
But you were swearing at him?
Yeah, I did use a couple of bad words.
As Nolene Kane is marched away, her friend Melissa Dunn follows. In anger, Melissa hits the side of the police car. Constable Michelson chases and tackles her in the street. She's eventually handcuffed and then dragged in a headlock to the police van. As the police try to put her inside, she falls, hits her head, and is knocked unconscious.
I think it was very concerning that this particular police officer acted as he did that night.
Solicitor Claire O'Neill would later defend Melissa Dunn in court.
The magistrate described it aptly when he said that what happened, at least at points, was just wrong.
By the time an ambulance arrived, Melissa had regained consciousness. She resisted treatment. Eventually, she was taken to hospital. Her blood alcohol reading 0.15. She was charged with hindering and resisting police. Her friend Nolene Kane was released.
Do you think you guys deserved the treatment you got that night?
No, like, not to the point where I'm on the floor being arrested, because I wasn't violent, really. There was no excessive force to like, be chucked and like dragged on the floor, but yeah.
And were you...
And especially being young too, like you don't really know what's going on. Like, you're 15, you're a girl, like you're pretty harmless.
Melissa's mother only saw the footage for the first time 7 months later when the case reached the Children's Court.
I broke down. I couldn't believe it. I was just that angry. I didn't get a chance to see it before that.
It's pretty shocking. I think any parent in Australia would be very worried if they had their kids treated like that. I think that's my first reaction, how I'd feel if that was my daughter.
Aboriginal Social Justice Commissioner Mick Gooder says police need better training at dealing with young and vulnerable teenagers.
How do you deal with Aboriginal kids who might get a bit lippy and a bit mouthy? That doesn't justify that sort of treatment that we've just seen. I'll be contacting the police to have these discussions about what can we do in a training sense to make sure this sort of stuff doesn't happen.
When Melissa got to the children's court, the case didn't go well for the police. Constable Hugh Michelson told the court that Nolene Kane was aggressive, erratic and unpredictable. The magistrate disagreed. He said Constable Michelson's action beggars belief, involved an inordinate amount of force, and that the girls should not have been arrested at all.
What the magistrate found was that, in effect, when Melissa hit the side of the van, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and the police officer, basically, he'd had enough, and then he decided to arrest.
After an internal police investigation, Constable Hugh Michelson was counselled and retrained in restraint techniques. His arrest of Melissa Dunn and Nolene Kane was ruled unnecessary. Instead, the review found they should have been issued with court attendance notices. New South Wales Police say the initial investigation and subsequent reviews found no evidence of criminal misconduct in relation to the officers' actions. A coronial inquest into the teenager's death resulted in no adverse findings against police. Melissa's mother has engaged a lawyer specialising in police complaints to lodge a civil claim.
The force used was not only unnecessary, but the situation in which the police officer used force was created by himself, failing to use his powers of arrest properly.
When Melissa Dunn was found not guilty, she was thrilled.
She was that excited for beating them. She went and celebrated with her friends.
Melissa's life seemed to be looking up, but 3 days after the trial, a sudden tragedy. Late at night, after an argument with her boyfriend, Melissa Dunn came to this park in Maroubra and hanged herself.
I got a phone call from my nephew, Aaron. Check and see if Melissa's in the bedroom. And I went and checked. I said, no, she's not here. Why, what's going on? He said, I'll call you back. 5 minutes later, he called me back. Come down to the park. It's Melissa, she's dead. I ran towards the park and I'd seen her laying there in the park. And then the police just grabbed me and took me back over the road.
The news of Melissa's death soon reached the Children's Court, where only days earlier she had appeared.
It was quite shocking, and indeed it was quite shocking for the magistrate. I remember him really being in disbelief that it had occurred. He recalled seeing her after the court case. He'd left court and she was standing out the front of Bajura on Glebe Point Road. And he told me on that Monday that she seemed so happy. She was talking to her friends on the phone and she was with her mother, and she just didn't strike you as somebody who would then go that next step of hanging herself.
I'm just angry at everyone. Myself mainly. It's the first time that Friday night when I was at work, we normally ring each other about 2 or 3 times. And not one of us rang each other.
Several times a week, Judy Timbry visits the park where Melissa died. She wonders if the arrest and trial of her daughter contributed to her death.
This made me so angry. No phone call from them or anything. Not that it's going to bring her back, but...
You know, I don't know if there is any connection between this incident and that eventually awful event, but you know, it doesn't help. Those sort of things don't actually make people feel really good about themselves.
Last month, Melissa Dunn would have turned 20. Her mother is still shocked by the events leading up to her daughter's death.
Sometimes I think she's still here, she's going to walk through the front door. And I know it's not going to happen because I dressed her. I even got her baptised before we buried her. It's not fair.
Hayden Cooper reporting, and remember, help is available. The numbers are on the screen right now.